Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Cleef, and I'm thrilled you're here. I know you're going to get incredible value from the dynamic lady we're interviewing today. Her name is Maureen Miles, and she lives in Connecticut and invests in Atlanta. And I think within a week or so, she's going to be at 1,700 units, over a $100 million portfolio. She's raised $30 million to do multifamily real estate, and we are very blessed to have her on the show today. Maureen, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Rod. Thank you.
So before we started recording, I know you mentioned to me that you started out in smaller property. I'd love to hear how you got into real estate and just maybe take us back and walk us through the chronology of your real estate career.
So I originally started when I was younger. Somebody was rehabbing a property next door to my grandparents' house. Is how it really started. I was about 16 or 17, and they would pay me just to clean up the job sites. It was during the summertime, and I loved it. I just fell in love with all aspects of rehab after that. I thought it was great. I learned how to I could build a house from the ground up myself, just from, it started, that's way back when. So I learned how to put windows in, kitchens in, flooring, sheetrock, all that kind of stuff. So that was great. Then I progressed, got a normal job, as they call it, was the corporate world. I was a network engineer for one of the big telecom companies. And my husband had a job with our local town, but he didn't have the best retirement plan. Actually, there was no retirement plan, so there was no retirement plan. So we decided that we wanted to start kind of building a little portfolio and getting some cash flow just to plan ahead, because we were young. And we knew that if we did it now, it would build up equity over the years and things like that. So
and was this in Connecticut?
That was in Connecticut.
Okay.
So we bought two just before the recession. We still actually have those today. Then once we saw the recession and I started understanding the cash flow numbers and how the properties work more, I just saw the crazy opportunity that was right before us. So my husband and I, we started buying the smaller fixer-uppers and doing it on the side, kind of off hours and things like that. We work separate schedules, so we kind of tag team the rehab, then we would rent them out and hang on to them. And we built up to about 30 units locally, self-managing, self-rehabbing, everything.
And Connecticut's an expensive market, so you were able to cash flow and make it work.
When the recession was there, yeah, we were picking up properties for 40 grand, 70 grand,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so continue. So then what happened?
Let's see. So I I started getting a little frustrated at my job, and I saw the potential. I liked the real estate. I knew it could work. We were good at it. My kids participated too. I have two, they were teenagers at the time, and they would, we had things $50 Saturdays. I'd pay their friends to come help me rip out all the demo, and they loved it. They just loved it.
Well,
so, cool. So they're actually a big part of it now too. So it's cool to have, different people involved from the family. So let me think. I was frustrated with my job, and one of the main reasons that kind of just got me to want to do the 100+ units is I had this boss that he wouldn't let me come in like 10 minutes late. I could get this story still upsets me. I don't know how many times it still upsets me, but I could get my kids off the bus if I was just 10 minutes late to work, because I worked the evening shift. I was in charge of some Asia people. He wouldn't let me come in that 10 minutes late, and it used to kill me that right after I'd leave for work, the kids would come home. But I was thinking the other day, so I'm very grateful that happened, because he really was my motivator to get the heck out of the corporate world and go do this myself. So
make sure you send him a thank you gift.
That's what I said. If it wasn't for this jerky boss, I'd probably still be there behind my desk in this room with no windows doing my IT stuff. So I said, sometimes we're presented with these challenges and things that just don't go our way, but really sometimes that's like what propels us to make changes. So.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. And I promise you, there are people listening that are in the same boat. And the key to taking action is leverage. And basically, you got leverage on yourself. And it was like, what, I'm not going to put up with this crap. And good for you. Good for you. So tell us about how you transitioned into these. 1,700 units. Holy cow! How'd you transition into the bigger stuff?
So what really happened is, again, anyone doing multifamily, you can only do so much when you're doing it yourself, and you kind of get burnt out. And I know a lot of other people that do it. I think it's somewhere between the 3 and the 4 year range, depending on how tough you are and how tenacious you are about it. So I knew there was a better way. In Connecticut, we don't have a lot of property managers, or at least ones that I felt comfortable with. I would drive their properties and I was like, geez, these are the things that I'd be rehabbing. You know, they were the ones that they owned or managed. So I couldn't really get enough properties in Connecticut to make everything, you know, worthwhile. So I started looking into and understanding how to do the 100+ units, syndication as they call it. I didn't have money at the time, so I started like just really understanding how it was, but I'm a hard worker. Anything I put my focus on, I'll get done. So I started to attend different networking groups and, you know, different groups where I would meet people that kind of had this expertise. So that's where I went to one of the groups, and somebody had introduced me to another person that had a deal. It was 100+ in Atlanta, but they needed some investors. And I had a lot of investors at the time. I was going to go into a Dallas deal with another group, but I realized they weren't the greatest group to work with. They didn't quite get the numbers and they couldn't make me comfortable with their package. So I took my investors out of that issue. And I basically had a bunch of investors. This guy needed investors, so we joined. We did one unit or one property together. It was 117 units in Atlanta.
Okay.
And, we just hit it off. Whatever skills I was a little weak in, he had, and vice versa. Whatever his weaknesses were, I had the operations experience doing the smaller stuff. Yep.
Let me stop you for 1 second, if I may. I want to circle back to how you got those investors, but can you continue with how you guys sync together? Because this is a common dynamic. So you're great in the operational. What's he great with?
Yeah, so he had a hedge fund background. So
okay, analytical. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we always joke around because a lot of people think he's the numbers guy, but I can do numbers and I'm really good. But he's great at the financing, keeping all the LLCs in check, keeping all the investor documents. One of the biggest fears that I had and what was really holding me back was I knew I was raising millions. Now we're not raising tens of thousands of dollars. We're raising, you know, this deal is $6.2 million we raised for this current deal. So I knew that I was sticking my neck out a lot more. I didn't know if there was going to be something that I didn't know kind of thing. And that was my biggest fear. So once he kind of checked that box for me, like he understood how the investing works, all the SEC regulations and all that. And that was really just what I needed to.
That gave you the comfort to push forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you the driver?
When
I say driver, I mean, are you the engine?
You know, we both are. It's actually really good. It's a good working relationship because there's times when each one of us is leading depending on, you know, the cycle of a project or where it is.
Love it.
Yep.
No, that's awesome. So that first deal, tell us a little more about the first deal. Was it undervalued? Was it a value add opportunity? Maybe some specifics about that deal.
Sure. It was 117 units. It was in Decatur, Georgia. That particular deal we bought for $3 million, $3,050,000, and
30 grand, less than 30 grand a door. Wow.
Yeah, that was what year was that now? 2014. That was the very first one. So it was 2014. Wow. Yeah, that one, it was, you know, it was a little dirty. It was in a little rougher neighborhood than maybe we would have liked, but we got in there, cleaned it up. One of the things that I love about doing this is once you start cleaning up, it's nice to see the tenants actually taking care of stuff. So once things are painted and cleaned up and you're repairing and picking up the trash, you know, they get out. I like to see the older people, they'll come out and sweep off their stoop in the morning now. And it's almost like clouds lift off these properties when you come into them and start cleaning them up. And nice. I really enjoy that too.
Is that a C area then?
That would be a C area, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And how much rehab did you have to put into it? What was your CapEx?
You know, you learn things and get better as you go along and do this. So we started that with only $50,000 of CapEx.
Holy cow. Wow. So you had to use operational money to get this thing fixed up.
We did, but I'm telling you, that thing was a cash cow. It was awesome. So we made a lot. We actually ended up selling that deal for $5.8 million 2 years later. Nice. So we were able to really, put the juice in it, as we call it. And what I always tell people is look for a property with the right things wrong with it. Not every poorly performing property is something that I'd want to do, but it has to have particular things that we look for.
For example, give us some examples, please.
We like to see high expenses. Like one of my favorite things is if you find someone that's owned a property for 30 years, or you just start to know certain companies in the area that they're a little fat with their expenses. So I know what I can run a property for. So I'm able to, create higher NOI when that's able to happen, when I'm able to take those expenses and reduce them.
The better you can increase the bottom line, the NOI is everything. So,
Yes.
so you just run leaner. So you've identified some players that you can maximize. Now, let me get back to syndication. So how did you find all these investors? What did you do? What were your tricks?
A lot of it was networking groups. They were just getting out there and knowing when you're involved with the business and you're doing it every day, and you're out there talking to people. They say have lunch with people twice a week or whatever. When I made that decision to leave my job, I was all in. So I was out there as much as I can do. If there was a real estate event, whether it was multifamily, flipping, notes, anything, I was there and I was meeting people. So I think I just gained the confidence of a lot of people. So I don't have an issue raising funds. It's actually pretty easy.
Right. No, I know that's what you're very, very good at. So give us a little, drill down a little more for me on when you meet somebody. Take us through the process of someone you don't know to an investor. What do you have a strategy? Do you first introduce yourself, then you go have a cup of coffee or lunch, or is there a sequence?
Yeah, you definitely have to get to know them. I do see mistakes that new people are making when they're trying to do it. And if I have time, I'll pull somebody aside and say, hey, you kind of got, they have to be comfortable with you, and you want to get to know them too, because you're going to be in a relationship with these people for the next 3 to 5 years, maybe longer. You want to make sure that everybody clicks together is one thing. And I never approach the money subject the first couple times I'm meeting, because usually when people get comfortable with me, then we kind of break down and ask the questions, and we discuss real estate, what we're doing. And I don't know, I think I do have a little bit of a different approach, because I really do love hearing about what people do in different aspects of real estate. I find it fascinating, and all these different tricks you learn. It's like tools in a tool belt, right? You never know when you could pull out some trick you heard about. So as far as the
how about some questions? How about some questions that you ask? I mean, how do you make sure that you're in alignment? Do you have any common questions you like?
As far as with investors, I really just explain to them what I do. I don't really have questions too much for them. I just kind of get a feel. I said I never want an investor in my deal that is going to lose sleep at night by being in my deal. So if they're too nervous, I'm not pushy at all. And I tell them, look, whenever you're comfortable, what I usually do is I go through a past investment to explain what I do. And that's the easiest way. I show the presentation. They can see current results, what our plans were, what our projections were, and then where we are now. And I explain how we exit, how everybody gets paid out. And that seems to work really well.
Do you use like an example of an offering memorandum or a teaser or something, or do you have a PowerPoint, or how do you, I'm trying to drill down a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. No, we use one of our past presentations is what I would do, is
Great.
bring one to explain. And, we talked about the expenses, but we are value add buyers is what they call us. So yeah, we are looking for things that we could renovate and make prettier and stuff. And they understand that for the most part. But if I'm getting a blank look on somebody, I just know it's not for them. Not that they have to understand every aspect of it, but I don't want somebody that's going to be nervous about it.
Right.
Losing sleep over being involved with me. I don't want that.
Okay. So now, what's your latest acquisition? The one you told me you're closing on within days. Tell us about that one.
That one's a 250 unit property. It's just outside of Atlanta. It's in one of the tertiary markets. Ooh, what I love about this property is we're buying it from the original builder. So they finished it in 1990. And right now, if you went for an apartment there, you could get a 2-bedroom apartment for $610 a month.
Wow.
And in Atlanta,
wow,
between $800 and $900. So for me, that's all like the gravy area. This is going to just be a sweet deal. This is like something I would have bought like 2 years ago in Atlanta. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow. That's incredible. That's going to be an incredible value add. What advice would you give now that you're so far along? What advice would you give, say, your 20-year-old self about this business? What is there anything you'd do differently, knowing what you know now?
My 20-year-old self, when I was,
or even your 30-year-old self. You tell me. Pick a point in life where you might have done something differently had you known what you know now.
I guess you can believe in yourself more. I've always felt that you have to get educated, whatever, because when you're dealing with whether it's $10 of somebody else's money or $10 million, you really owe it to them to make sure that you have looked into and dug into every possible thing you could learn, be trained in. I really think that that's so important. And I would say just go out and get the education sooner. Like I said, I didn't have any money. I would flip a house, or I would always pay for my real estate education on my little side deals of real estate. I wholesaled a little bit, and that's how I was able to pay for my stuff. So, but I always would question myself: is this a waste of money? Am I wasting my time doing this? You know, you're giving up holidays sometimes or birthdays to go to an event, and you meet the same people, and a lot of them, you know, looking back, a lot of them may never do anything. I don't know, but it doesn't.
That's the sad reality. A lot of people that go to those events never take action. It's really, their limiting belief systems, their fears, and all of that. So let me ask you this though. Didn't you typically always come back with a nugget of some sort where you found at the end, you always found value? I had the same struggle. In fact, I just did this awesome Facebook Live post yesterday where I showed, probably 150 lanyards from events that I went to because I didn't go to college, and I was talking about learning and learning in total immersion. I've got a workshop coming up in Tampa, January 19th, 20th, and 21st. It's a multifamily boot camp. And I was talking about the value of total immersion in an event. And I remember going to events thinking, why am I doing this? I'm not going to get anything. Every single time I got a ton of value. I got nuggets. I got distinctions, critical distinctions. So, So let me ask you this. Everybody thinks that, this success journey is easy. Was there a dark time in this journey that you'd be willing to share with my listeners? Is any challenge, that
there is? I mean, it is tough to stay motivated. I'm sure, we all have family members and everything that kind of are telling you to, why are you doing this? I remember one year, one of my relatives says, well, you can come to Thanksgiving, but so-and-so is going to be there and you can't talk about real estate. And I'm like, who says that to me?
Oh, that's funny. So you're so passionate that you're always talking about real estate. And guys, those of you listening, you got to love this. If you don't love it, learn to love it. Associate pleasure with it. I know you've heard me say that. It's so critical. You can hear it. You can hear it in Maureen's voice. So they actually want to diminish your passion and enthusiasm.
They didn't want to hear it. They were tired of it. They sing a little different tune now, though. I'll tell you that. They will come around.
Yeah.
One of the things when you're struggling and you're trying to be motivated for years, sometimes you're learning about different aspects to figure out what avenue you want to get into. One of my things that really helped propel me, which is kind of a funny story, is I was at one of these events and a lady who was really successful, she told me that, she saw me at the different events and she could tell I was smart. I've always been good with numbers. Mm-hmm. And, she said that her and her husband had help when they started. And so when I found a property, she would, look at it with me and be my sponsor. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this is it. This is the break I've been waiting for. This is why I attended this one event that I didn't think I was going to get any use out of.
Now, let me ask you this. Was it the actual fact that she was going to invest with you, or the fact that she validated who you are?
It was because that was one of my roadblocks, is if I actually was able to get one of these big deals and put in an LOI and get it accepted, I didn't really know I didn't have a plan after that. So you almost you put out LOIs and you're like, oh my God, what if they do accept them? Like you almost hope that they don't because you're scared to move forward, right? So I with her like validation, like you said,
Right.
I'm like, this is great. So I went out and I hit it hard. I grabbed my son. We went down to the Carolinas at the time. I had all these broker appointments and property manager appointments. And this is really the first time I was out there speaking with, the people themselves, the brokers and things like that. But I'm like, hey, I got this deal. We're going to work with this partner. She's awesome. And so about 4 months, it took me about 4 months of getting something until I really got a great deal. And it was a good deal. And I called up this lady and I'm like, hey, I got this deal. And she goes, who are you?
Oh,
it's not a good time right now. And she was like really rude to me on the phone.
oh no.
And that's okay. I was really disappointed and like, oh my gosh, but it just shows me that the fear was in my head. I never would have did all that and made those leaps forward if she wasn't there. So
that's the point I was trying to make. It was really more mindset than the fact that she was going to step forward. Oh, that's awesome story. Yeah. And guys, get out of your heads. Realize this is doable. So were there things you had to give up to do this?
Well, it's a lot of time. You see people going camping on the weekends and you're painting your house or, taking vacations and you're putting money into another real estate event. So that stuff is kind of tough. So you have to be literally all in. If you're on the sidelines, I hate to say you can't do it because I'm sure people can, but I think if, I said, I'm going to do this or I'm going to die, but I'm not stopping until one of those things happen. That was really where we got to. So yeah.
Awesome. So give us some of the biggest lessons you've learned in this journey. What are some of the things that you've picked up on? That'll add value to my listeners, ones that they want to do this. They know they can do it. They want more. They want out of the rat race. They hear success stories like yours. What would you say to them?
One of the biggest things is I always give this to new people. I say, just be really careful who your partners are in the beginning. Because the thing that really kills me is when I see somebody with a lot of potential kind of veer down towards a group I see they probably shouldn't be working with. And as you get in this, who the good operators are and the bad ones. And so that I do try to step in and I say, look, we like to all motivate everybody, but you just really need to be careful working with that group. Because I think out of the gate, if you get involved with the wrong people, it could kill your whole career in that, just one bad deal. And so you want to just be really careful, really get to know who you're working with. And in the beginning, you're so excited to just be part of something because you put in all this training. And I did that. I had a few close calls with some groups that I'm just really glad the deal didn't go forward as I learned them. Just integrity is everything.
And guys, trust your intuition. Your gut will always tell you. Don't ignore it. Every time I've ignored my intuition, I've regretted it. And would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
And there's more opportunity too. I just want to say, don't ever just say, this is my chance. This is it. There'll be something else down the road. There'll be another group to work with down the road. So it's better to miss out on opportunity than to kind of get burnt and tripped up. So think about that.
What's one of your favorite stories around all this? As this whole career for you, this getting into multifamily and crushing it. What's one of your favorite stories?
Like how? Favorite story with what? You want to
know? Just maybe a success story. You already shared some pretty amazing. I think this one you're about to buy, holy cow, $200 swing in rents on 250 units. Good God.
And that's before renovations. It's going to be an awesome property.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
Yep.
What are some characteristics that you think people that are getting into this business need to have or build or grow?
I think one thing is you have to be a little bit flexible. Sometimes if you're so rigid, I think some people get, and I've learned this from working with my partner, you have like an idea in your head on the way things should be, and it can't always be like that. You kind of have to be a little bit more fluid and kind of, one thing I like to say too is we don't create the market, we work within the market. So you can't always, I have some people that are struggling to get a very specific deal and they want this criteria and they get upset because the brokers aren't giving it to them. But I told him, well, that's not the market. It doesn't exist in that market. You have to find a way to see what's right before you. And markets change too. So we have to be flexible with what we're trying to do and, be flexible. That's all. Sure. That's the biggest thing if you want to, be able to keep moving forward.
Sure. So let me ask you this. What's driving you right now? What's pushing you? 'Cause I'm a big proponent for the psychology of taking action because we talk about this. That's just such a big piece of this. I tell people 80% of your success in anything is your psychology. And I think that's apparent in talking to you. And so what gets you to jump out of bed in the morning? What's driving you to push this as hard as you're pushing it?
Just loving what I do. I've always been very competitive and I always know that there's a way to run a property better or to get a better deal on what I'm buying for properties for supplies. So that's to me is a little bit of a game. I'm always trying to just make sure I can tweak it better. Every month, the numbers should be better. There's always some kind of efficiency that we can produce. I love the people I work with. I love that I can create an environment that's not like my corporate job where, I have some really great team members that
I want you to expand on that. I'm really glad because I was going to go there next. I wanted to hear about your team.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic. And my daughter, she's 24 and she's involved with it too, which is great. And she's a tenacious little thing too. So she keeps the contractors in line. We have a giant rehab. The last property I bought is 280 units. We bought it 40% occupied. I wouldn't recommend anybody's first deal with that. Right. And it's been a lot to do. So we're currently involved in that one. And she's been helping out great. So it's nice to be able to offer opportunity like that to, people that are deserving. I see a hard worker. I can now hire them, train them. I don't really care about their skill set so much. If they have that ability to learn stuff and they want to learn, I'll send them to classes. I'll do whatever I have to do. And so by building my own team like that, I didn't do it because of loyalty, but I find they're very loyal and they know that I have their back and they have mine.
That's huge. Work ethic. I'll take work ethic over experience any day. Drive, passion over experience any day.
Right.
I love it. So tell us about your team, the components. You've got you and your partner at the top. And what other pieces are in your team? I mean, your daughter, awesome. She's managing that's so cool that you can bring your family in. I just love that. And so what other pieces are there?
Well, we recently made some changes. So 3.5 years into it, about year 3, we went through a couple different property management companies because I am all over the numbers and, they say, a lot of times they don't even ever see the owners or the asset managers. But that's definitely not me. So I'm always involved trying to make things better. We just kind of got frustrated with them. And that doesn't mean they're all bad. And some of them had very good, they were good companies and great owners, but we just didn't have the control that we needed. So we recently created a property management company. We recently created a construction management company to save on materials. I'm able to buy, from who sells materials to Home Depot. I'm able to buy stuff from them now because we can buy such quantity. And I can pay a 20th on lights that we put in than someone would pay when they go to Home Depot. So right now we have the management company, and then the management company will hire, we hire our managers for each particular property. So every property has its own particular team as well. Right.
Got it. Wow. That's awesome. So you've brought your management in-house now.
We have, and we also have a girl named Jennifer out in Colorado that we would, I keep going. So I call her my reminder all the time, but she's like our backbone of what we have going on. So it's,
wow. A little shout out to Jennifer. All right. So are there any tools or books that have really helped you on this journey? Or is there a book that you gift to people that you meet regularly? Is there?
It's funny you should ask that. Yeah. So in the beginning there was, I think the Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, sure.
A lot of people off and kind of showed you a different way of doing things. That Think and Grow Rich, I had heard a lot of very successful people talk about that. And that was a book that I love. There's another book about like when passion and like skills mix, and I can't remember the name of it. Little red book, but I like that one. But really, it's Rich Dad Poor Dad. If anybody just wants to get on their way of understanding things from a different angle, and not to just think you have to go to work and have a job to make more money, I think that's really the core thing. And then again, see what skills do you have. And just to go back a little bit more on team, I think it's so important that people find out what they're not good at. So we all know what we're good at, but I always said, I would need a business partner that wouldn't mind being locked in a room for 5 days with no windows. I need that detail-oriented person that loves doing that, because I can do it, but I hate it, so I'm not good at it.
Totally agree. You and I are exactly alike in that regard, which is why I have a Robert.
Exactly. So it's great to find that person. And when you're partnering with somebody too, you have to be careful. You're not exactly alike, because two people with the same skill sets are not going to work out.
No, you bump heads. You want to do the same things. So exactly. Are you sticking with Atlanta?
No, we are actually looking in other markets. We always laugh that we start investigating another market and then we get another great deal that Atlanta pulls us back in. So because we're so well just plugged into this market now, we buy off market deals. We get deals that don't ever even hit, the broker sites, or a lot of times it's just with the owner directly or something like that.
Okay. So if you could leave one parting bit of advice for my listeners, what would you tell them? The ones that want to take action, haven't taken action yet, what would you tell them?
Don't listen to the haters is one thing, because there's always the people that say, oh, you can't do it, or they think you're crazy, or they, and they watch you from afar, and just don't let them influence you. What I say, if somebody's not a fan of yours, you shouldn't have them in your life, right? So if they're not your fan, if they're if you talk to somebody and you feel like you need a nap afterwards, you probably shouldn't hang around with that person anymore. You want to get with people that propel you, whether it's on your team, business partners, however it is. You want to make sure that they energize you and propel you moving forward, not hold you down and, feel like you're dragging 50 pounds of dead weight behind you.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. And sometimes those people are in your family and you can't even allow them to influence you. You love them, but you don't allow them to influence you.
That's right.
That's great. Well, I know people can reach out to you at tudormcleod.com. That's TUDORMCLEOD.com.
That's correct.
You have added incredible value today, Maureen, and it's been such a treat. I just love your energy and what you're accomplished. Yeah, so I'm very grateful that you took the time out of your busy day to join us.
No, thank you, guys. It was great meeting you, and I appreciate you wanting to talk to me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care. We'll talk again. All right,
okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe and then take a moment to visit iTunes and leave a 5-star rating and review. For more resources to connect with us further, please visit our website at lifetimecashflowpodcast.com. Tune in next week for our next show.